What do you say to people like, and I don't know if you had those thoughts where you have, these modern women nowadays be like, oh, if you can do it, I'm gonna do it too, and they get even. What do you say? Because I remember, and I'll share this something that my ex-wife said to me that just made me feel even smaller after we was going through divorce. But what would you say about that?
I understand that perspective. I don't agree with it. I disagree with that perspective, but I understand that perspective because this is how I thought. I'm too good to treat myself like a hoe. I'm too much of a classy woman. I'm too clean. I value myself too much. And I think too much of myself to reduce myself to somebody's little secret. Who actually is good enough for me to reduce myself?
I broke it.
If you divorce me, I'm going to pursue you till I get you back.
I did tell her.
And I was like, I didn't know. I know exactly where we were in our house when that man said that. And I was like, he means it. And so when you asked him, and I was like, Tina, be quiet. It's not, he didn't ask you the question. When you asked him, what did he do to get me back? He did everything he said he was going to do. He did everything that he said he was going to do. So in the spirit, he ran to God. He prayed all day and all night. He was honest and broken before God, but he was also, excuse me. Okay, this is not a person. Anyway,
you okay?
Are you all right?
You all right?
You need prayer? I want to finalize the divorce as soon as possible.
Hey ladies, welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to make an indirect reference to the Teddy and Tina Campbell situation because I think that there's an important lesson to be learned outside of the whole infidelity thing, which I'm going to touch on briefly. But before I get into that, just a little bit of a background on what I'm referring to. So many of you who are familiar with the Black Christian space will know Tina Campbell, but for those who don't, she is a part of the gospel super group called Mary Mary. They were very big during the 2000s. Even people who weren't Christian would listen to their music. Sometimes they would even have the music playing on secular radio stations because their music was very catchy. I used to actually like Mary Mary growing up when I was a kid, and when I obviously was raised in the Christian church. That was I was only allowed to listen to Christian music, so Mary Mary was one of the bands that I enjoyed. I remember actually back when you had to go to a store to buy CDs, I remember going to the store to get like their latest album and just listening to their albums on replay. So eventually later on in the 2010s when they had their reality TV show, Erica, her sister, Tina's sister, and Tina, we learned that Teddy, Tina's husband, cheated on her. And he cheated on her many times. He cheated on her most notably with the assistant and the housekeeper. And, he's been cheating ever since. And now recently, I think back in December actually, but it just recently broke the news. Teddy filed for divorce from Tina, citing irreconcilable differences and pretty much saying that I'm done with this marriage and I want to move on. And I want to talk about the whole purity culture thing that the church likes to push, because I've said this many times on this channel that one of the ways that the church tries to control women is through pushing purity. Right? Telling you that you need to be this pure, virtuous, amazing, blameless woman, and that your body is pretty much only for your husband's use, right? And that if you are the seductress Jezebel whore, that you deserve eternal damnation and hell. But depending on the level of hyper religiosity that your community that you belong to aligns with, being a Jezebel harlot slut can range anywhere from you painting your nails pink and wearing gold hoop earrings, little small, cute little dainty gold hoop earrings, to pretty much, being a lady of the night. Like, it can range anywhere from there. For some of those religious people, those two extreme ends of the spectrum, which one is obviously less extreme than the other, is one in the same, okay? And for me, I've disclosed that I come from a Caribbean hyper-religious background. That is a mentality that a lot of Caribbean people of various denominations hold on to, where for those who are familiar, and this is very prominent in the Seventh Day Adventist denomination specifically, but I know that evangelicals and Holiness, I think they're called Holiness Church or whatever, Church of God in Christ, and their own other sects within Jamaica. That's one of the mentalities that they hold on to, where you'll see it like here in the US, you'll see it in Canada, England, but particularly in Jamaica, where you'll see them wear like a uniform almost, where it's this knee length or longer skirt. Then like they have like a blouse underneath, they have a cardigan over top or a blazer, which is fine, like whatever you do, it works for you, but they're not allowed to wear makeup, and they have to wear their hair in, quite frankly, in my opinion, very juvenile hairstyles that often are given to little girls. So it's the whole like cornrow, like braids at the front, and then like the twist at the back. Grown women wearing that hairstyle. And this is not to shame anyone's personal choice. If like you can style your hair however the hell you want, I don't care. The whole premise is that a lot of times these churches will strip you of your beauty down to the bare bones. Like it's the same like red pill mentality, where it's like, unless you can roll out of bed and show up as your raw, untouched, quote unquote, authentic, quote unquote self, then you're not truly beautiful. And you doing your lashes, you getting your hair done means that you are insecure and you have a fake sense of beauty, and you're only doing it to attract men, specifically married men if you're in the church, because for some reason married men are this endangered species that needs to be protected from the wiles of the devil via the Jezebel harlot. And so back to Tina Campbell, where this all ties to and relates to. Tina spent her career preaching the gospel, okay? And this is not even a critique of Christianity, like the religious dogma. It's the institution of the church that I am taking issue with, okay? The people component of it, if you will. She spent her entire career preaching the gospel and serving people who hold on to these mentalities. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know about her specifically, but I'm pretty sure her sister Erica has been caught making comments about women being pure and kind of passive aggressively endorsing those doctrines without flat out coming out and saying, you know, women ought to behave X, Y, and Z. But carrying these type of beliefs and being the pure wife has done absolutely nothing to benefit Tina. All it has resulted in, the only reward that she got in following this whole purity culture mentality, because let's face it, when in the modern age, you cannot have Christianity without all of the strict tenets that comes along with it, and that includes women being upright. And that's one of the reasons why Mary was so big, was because, and that's why they're called Mary and Mary, like the Virgin Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, who was reformed from being a prostitute to now being a servant of Jesus Christ, right? One was like seen as like the eternal mother of purity, and the other was the harlot, who then became reformed and a symbol of reformed purity. Mary. That's the symbolism behind the name of the group. But they were pushed and were so popular because they represented an image of what it meant to be a good Christian woman. While like it was a modern twist though, like they were still the fun-loving, hip, beautiful women, right? Like they put out catchy music that people could dance to and have a good time to without sinning, okay? And being raunchy and aligning with the negative stereotypes that are associated by the Black church with secular music, right? They were able to have that image. And so they weren't just pushed to push the gospel, but they were pushed to serve as a role model for women and young girls coming up. And they were both pushed at a very opportune time, because I remember when they first came out, I think their first album was called Shackles. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But when they first came out, I remember one of them, I think it was maybe Erica, or maybe even both of them. I think they may have both been married in the same year, but they were both getting married. Okay. I remember when my mom purchased one of those albums for me, there was like an extended version. Like, you remember like the little inserts that go into the CD, and when you open it up, there's like a list of all the songs and the lyrics, and then sometimes they put like other like special edition stuff that like fans can appreciate. Well, there was information about one of their weddings. So from the way that they styled their hair, the floral arrangements, the nail. I remember there was a segment in there where they show that they were getting a French tip, like a rounded almond French tip style. And I'll see if I can find a photo from the archive somewhere and put it in here. But if I can't, Google it or use your imagination. But it was like the French tip design with like a white lace design on top of the nail as well. And that was like my first introduction to like French tip and early 2000s fashion as a little girl. And honestly, that memory of and that photo of those nails like stuck with me to this day. But they were pushed at such an opportune time because, again, like they represented this image, like this positive role model image of being these perfect, humanly perfect, virtuous women that were going to show you how you ought to be a good wife for your husband, essentially. Okay, nothing happens, especially in the industry. And yes, the institutionalized megachurch Christian gospel genre is a part of the institution. As much as they like to make it seem like they're different from the world, so long as big bucks and millions and billions are involved in the equation, you are officially a part of that institution. And I strongly believe that they push the album release to align with them getting married, to push this narrative of, wow, look at these women, like they're so beautiful and they're talented and they can sing, they make great music, but also they're getting married, they were able to secure men of God, and now they're going to show you how to be virtuous wives for you to aspire, and little girls, for you to aspire to be like one day in the future. Okay, so fast forward like 20 odd years later, Tina is left with nothing. Tina is left with nothing but embarrassment and a divorce. And in my opinion, a divorce is not a loss. If you got to the stage where your marriage ended, it's for a reason. And it's usually for the woman's benefit, whether she wants to accept it or not. Usually it's the woman who files for divorce. And we know especially women are very forgiving when it comes to relationships because they want to maintain the appearance. Many women attach their value to being a wife, and many women stay married because they're doing it for the children. They want to maintain a structured household for their kids. And if you break that image, many women feel like they failed, right? So to finally get to this point where it's like, I'm done with this marriage is a big deal, okay? But in this case, it was Teddy. Despite Tina forgiving him and allowing him to embarrass her many times, because if we go back to the show, there was a time when she had a breakdown on the show where it was revealed that he cheated on her with a housekeeper. And Erica, in true typical Christian mammy fashion, tried to convince her sister to take him back. She's like, oh, forgive him, and you got to push past your feelings pretty much. Don't give up on your marriage. And she did all these things that her sister and many Christian women and men will force Christian women to do to stay in their marriage in order to uphold that image of purity and being the great, amazing, godly wife. Only for Teddy, right, when he was done embarrassing her and calling her fat and unattractive, pretty much, I'll talk about that in a second, only for him to walk away. Okay, that man said, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna sleep with who I want to sleep with. I don't give a damn if I cheat on you. I don't care if you put me on blast and tell everybody about it and do a book tour and a press conference on it. I'm gonna do what I want. And now that, I'm finished with this entire spectacle, I'm gonna file for divorce because being with you no longer served me. Let's face it, he stayed with her for the lifestyle that she afforded, because when Tina met Teddy, he was just a drummer. I think he was a drummer for her band, for her group, and she was a rising international superstar, okay? Which is another reason, as a side note, women, why you should never date down. Tina had no business marrying Teddy. Okay, because when you look at images of Tina when she was younger, she was that girl, and she still is beautiful, but she was really good looking back then. And I don't recommend this, but she could have, at the very least, if she wanted to keep it within the Christian community, she could have found herself a megachurch pastor for him to marry her and, take the tithes and offering and spend it on her and give her a lavish lifestyle. And honestly help to push that image of the virtuous wife and the godly couple goals and boost the sales and blah, blah, blah. But she didn't. She settled for Teddy. And sometimes I wonder why, how that came about. Because Erica married her husband, Warren, who was a music producer. And not to say that Warren is a better catch, because he's not. He also cheated on Erica. Men of God, aren't they great? But on paper, he cheated on, he's a better catch than Teddy, because he made music, he produced music, and he made good money in order to take care of his family. And Tina ended up with the loser. Tina is also older, I believe, than Erica. So that's probably why they were like, okay, just settle for this guy that's paying attention to you, because your sister's about to get married. She's younger than you. What the hell are you doing, woman of God? You're about to hit 30. You're about to hit the wall. Let's go. So it could have been that. But all the more reason, women, to set yourself free from those useless societal expectations. And if you're going to marry right. Marry a man who can take care of you and enhance your quality of life, and never date down. Or just count your losses with the Black community and stay single until you're able to find someone that is able to improve your quality of life and that is able to actually operate the way that the Bible says that a husband ought to operate. Okay, you can go ahead. Exactly, those who want to dissent in the comments, exactly what I'm referring to when it talks about the husband being the provider. Okay, and no, he's not going to eventually grow into it, and he has the potential. Okay, there are so many examples as to why that is false, and Teddy is another example. I bet Tina was told the same thing, where she was told, your husband, he has the potential. He's such a great, outstanding, ambitious man of God. Maybe one day he'll get it. No, he didn't get it. Who even knows what Teddy does to this day? And he didn't grow to love his wife. He ended up continuing to cheat on her throughout the entire marriage, embarrass her, humiliate her really, and then walked away. He's probably going to go right off into the sunset with a woman that he's actually attracted to. Okay. And that's not to slight Tina. That's just to let you know how men like that behave and operate. And you as a woman need to be vigilant and clock game so that you don't allow these men to literally drag you through the mud, pump 4 babies in you, only for him to humiliate you and then bounce with half of your assets, because she probably didn't have a prenup. Okay. But yeah, fast forward to 20 years, Tina has not achieved anything. All that purity culture, yibber yabber, and her being the perfect virtuous wife has amounted to nothing for her, except humiliation, embarrassment, and probably losing half of her assets. Which is why I tell women that you need to live life on your own terms, and you need to live life in a way that makes you happy. Do not fall for these super rigid, restrictive principles that tell women that you need to be in servitude to men as an act of worship to God, when men themselves are not even upholding their end of the bargain. Okay, go out and live your life, travel, focus on your career, be self-sufficient, get your own money. And then if you do decide that you want to be paired with a man, be married to a man, it's from a place where you have options and not from a place of desperation. Okay, and part of that of being self-sufficient and being able to choose also involves being able to detach and walk away from harmful practices that seek to hold women back. And quite frankly, that is the Black church. That's one of the harmful institutions that exist to hold women back. It's not the only one, but because as a Black woman with that lived experience, I can only speak to that experience. But it just goes to show that the whole purity culture thing is bullshit, because Teddy's not the only one who cheats. I told you that Warren cheated on his wife, Erica, as well. Many of these pastors who will preach from the pulpit, actually, there's a growing number of pastors being exposed, specifically from Black churches. They're being exposed for having mistresses, and they don't give a shit anymore. They don't even try to hide it anymore. Before, whenever a scandal like that would break, the pastor would kind of leave away and then he'd resurface a month or 2 later. Oh, I spent time in the presence of God to repent for my actions, and some harlot seduced me, but I'm back now stronger than ever. These guys are not even doing that anymore. They don't give a damn. They're still going to church and lying to you and collecting your hard-earned tithes and offering cash to go and spend it on their mistress. Okay, so being this virtuous, amazing, pious woman who is quite frankly sexually repressed and miserable is not going to serve you. You going to church Sunday to Saturday, hoping that it's going to score you brownie points with whoever's in charge is not going to serve you, okay? Live your life freely. And that doesn't mean, for those who think in black and white bird brain thinking, that you have to go from one extreme to the other and literally slut yourself out. And if that's what you want to do, that's your business. And, you know, if you're free to give yourself over to repressive religious regimes, whatever that religion may be, then you also have the right to explore life however the hell you want to. But for most even-keeled, reasonable thinking people, most people don't want to live a life like that. They want to be able to maybe go out for drinks with a friend on a Friday afternoon and enjoy the fruits of their labor, or be able to travel to a foreign country on their own, or be able to rent their own apartment, or be able to wear clothing that makes them feel sexy and confident, or be able to swear and not feel like they're going to be struck down and go to hell immediately. Like, you were given life for a reason. Like, live that life however you want. And when you allow yourself to explore and try things, you're gonna grow out of certain things. Like, think of those of us who have an experience of partying on the weekends in your early 20s. Now that you're older, it's like, I don't really care to do that anymore. Like, if I'm celebrating like a friend, or you're on vacation and you want to go have a good time because you're traveling, then yeah, but like, you're not enticed by going out every single Friday night to go and spend money and then maybe do it again on Saturday, and then you got to clock into work on Monday. Like, that's just not exciting anymore, because you have a more well-rounded way of thinking in life. Like, life is just cycles, okay? It also doesn't automatically mean that you're gonna get into substance abuse and promiscuity and all these things. Like, that's just a myth that is used to scare women into keeping them pious, when these men don't even care about their salvation, if you will. Like, the Bible is very clear about men and women committing adultery, and these men don't really seem to care about that, because they think for some reason, because they're religious leaders, that they're exempt, or God's gonna automatically forgive them, whatever. And so they're living their best lives, so why shouldn't you? Okay. And Tina's story is not anything new. It's a tale as old as time. Many of your moms and grandmothers have been through the same thing, where the church has told women to stay in harmful situations that are worse than Tina's, because that is your duty as a good, godly, clean woman, only for them to end up the man walking away. For some women, you know, they're having to run for their lives with their children. And some women, they end up destitute and broke because they bought into the whole, you know, you're supposed to stay in the home and serve your husband, and they're relying on him financially 100%. And then when he's like, yeah, you know, I'm done being a husband, they kick her to the curb. And you know, she was a wife since she was like 20 years old. Now she has to figure out in her 40s what life is going to look like and how she's going to take care of her kid. And to that point about Teddy calling Tina unattractive, pretty much.
My wife will put on something, and if it's to run around town and do what she has to do, she will wear the same thing every day. And it will look okay for the first day, but for the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, not so much. Sometimes, you know, you be in your little sweats and things, you know, and I want you to look a little turned up.
You don't like this?
No. See that? I didn't say that.
For real, Teddy? For real? I'm running around this house being your wife, being these kids' mama. I ain't got no time to be gorgeous. When it's gorgeous time, I'm gonna be gorgeous.
I'm just saying, like, I like for you to look a little more like I like for you to look.
Okay, Teddy, so you want me to be all extra fly and dolled up? Ugh. It ain't always time for that. Go on.
This is in no way defending the man, because Teddy ain't shit. And men who have money, in my opinion, only they are deserving of your time and attention. But as a woman, I've told you time and time again that your beauty is your currency, and that doesn't stop in your marriage. And many of the married baddies in here who follow me will tell you the same thing, that you will continue to receive top tier preferential treatment from your husband and others when you look good and put together. But the drawback with Tina, and I can empathize with her on why she did not keep herself up, was because she was stressed. Okay, not only did she have to raise 4 kids and play the dutiful wife, she had her career, and she had to go so hard in her career because her man is broke, or was broke at the time. You're not making much money playing drums, okay? And so if Tina had married a man who had money, She could easily hire a nanny, easily hire a housekeeper to make breakfast, take the kids to school, and she even made that point. I think part of it might have been control, because who knows, maybe at that time she could afford a nanny, but she's like, oh, do you want me to be the type of wife where I'm passing off the kids onto the nanny? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with accepting help. Like, that's another myth that the Black community and the Black church particularly holds, where they're like, your first ministry is in your home and your first ministry is being a good wife and mother. But it's like, they still also require you to be a career woman, to take care of the house and to serve and support your husband, especially if he's not making any money. And all of these religious principles and tenets are still held on to, but without the appropriate context. Back in the whenever AD time frame, that was okay for a woman to stay home and take care of the house full time, because the husband worked. That's all he did. It was his responsibility, as per the Bible, to take care of the family, right? To the point that if a man did not take care of his family and provide, the Bible says that men like that are worse than unbelievers, right? And again, we know what happens to unbelievers in the Bible. They go straight to hell, okay? So if you're worse than that, like, wow. So if these purity culture, pious stronghold beliefs of how women ought to perform are often pushed onto women with no reward and no regard or advocacy for how the man ought to show up for his family. And as a result for Tina, it resulted in her being burnt out, only to end up a divorced woman, only for him to call off the wedding or call off the marriage and end the relationship with her. Okay, so again, like, there was no reward in her showing up as this pious, virtuous woman who, by definition, she did everything right. She still fell short. So another example to put yourself first and to take care of yourself, because again, there is no reward and there's no guarantee that he's going to want to stick around, even though you're showing up as how you're supposed to show up according to religious principles. And as a matter of fact, I bet you she obviously didn't get any support when he was cheating. But I bet you she's still not getting any support. I bet you there are church people who are telling her, try harder for him, make yourself smaller so that he feels less threatened, fix up yourself and look better so that he feels like attracted to you again, without actually saying, Teddy, why aren't you providing for your wife? Why don't you go and get a nanny for your wife? You see that she's this big international superstar, which actually she did have. She had the housekeeper, she had the help, right? That's one of the women that he ended up cheating with, but Tina made the choice to hold on to that harmful image of what it means to be a virtuous wife and a woman, and it did not serve her. And that's true for many women. There are many women across various socioeconomic statuses, many women who have significantly less resources than Tina, who they're burnt out, they're impoverished, and oftentimes it leads to health issues because they hold on to these ultra strict beliefs and practices that do not benefit them in the long run. Anyway, these are my thoughts on the topic. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.
God, please get me through this time of financial struggle. Just tell me what I need to do. Huh? What's that? You want me to have a kid? And you will provide? Well, in Jesus' name.